I used to think I had it all figured out. Marriage, career, the house with the white picket fence, the whole American dream wrapped up in a neat little package. My name is David Brown, I'm 29, and until that night, 3 months ago, I believed my wife Jessica and I had built something unbreakable. We were high school sweethearts who found each other again after college. Like something out of a romantic comedy. Jessica was 27. Beautiful in that effortless way that made other men stare when we walked into restaurants together. She had dreams of becoming a professional photographer, and when we got married 5 years ago, I encouraged her to quit her retail job to pursue her passion. I wanted to be the husband who believed in his wife's dreams, who provided the stability she needed to chase them. That meant I worked the hard shifts. Night shifts at the freight company, handling international shipments that came in at ungodly hours. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd leave home around 10 p.m. and wouldn't return until 7:30 in the morning. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid well enough to support both of us while Jessica built her photography business. Our routine was clockwork. On my work nights, Jessica would stay up late editing photos or scrolling through social media, always texting me goodnight around midnight. I'd respond with a heart emoji, sometimes a quick "love you too," and then focus on the job. We had it down to a science, the rhythm of a marriage that had settled into comfortable predictability. But looking back now, I can see the cracks that I was too trusting, too tired, or too stupid to notice. Jessica had become distant over the past few months. More time glued to her phone, less interest in showing me her latest photography work. When I'd suggest date nights or weekend trips, she'd find excuses. Too tired, too busy with a project, maybe next week. I told myself it was normal. Marriages go through phases. My exhausting schedule was probably creating distance between us. I dismissed the paranoid thoughts that crept in during those long night shifts. The way she'd turn her phone face down when I walked into a room. How she'd shower immediately after I came home from work, even though she'd supposedly been home alone all night. The new lingerie I'd find in the laundry, pieces I'd never seen her wear for me. I pushed those thoughts away because I trusted her. Because I loved her. Because Mike, our next-door neighbor, was always there to remind me that I was overthinking things. Mike was a godsend, a retired police officer in his early 60s who'd become like a father to me after my own dad passed away 3 years ago. He had this way of putting things in perspective, always joking about keeping an eye on the neighborhood, especially my house when I was working nights. "Don't worry, David," he'd say with that knowing smile. "I've got eyes on everything around here." As I settled into my shift that Tuesday night at 10:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Love you. Be safe tonight." I smiled, typed back a heart emoji, and dove into the mountain of shipping manifest that needed processing. I felt secure, protected, loved. I had no idea that in exactly 60 minutes, my wife would send me a message that would destroy everything I thought I knew about my life. At 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed during a routine shipment check. Jessica's name lit up the screen. I expected the usual goodnight text, maybe a complaint about being tired or bored. Instead, I opened a message that made my blood freeze in my veins. A photo appeared first. Jessica in lingerie I'd never seen before. Black lace that hugged curves I thought belonged only to me. The pose was provocative, seductive, intimate in a way that made my stomach drop. Then came a short video, her voice whispering words that weren't meant for my ears. Finally, the message that would haunt every sleepless night for months to come. "He's not coming home until 7 a.m. Get here soon, I'm ready for you." Time stopped. The warehouse around me faded into white noise. I read the message again, my hands starting to shake uncontrollably. There was no misunderstanding this. She thought she was texting someone else. Someone who knew my schedule. Someone who was coming to my house, to my bed, while I was here working to pay for the life we'd built together. My first instinct was to call her, to scream into the phone, to demand answers. But something cold and calculating cut through the shock. A survival instinct I didn't know I possessed. With trembling fingers, I took screenshots of everything. The photo, the video, the message, the timestamp showing 11:47 p.m. 3 seconds later, my phone buzzed again. The messages vanished, showing deleted. She'd realized her mistake. I stared at the screen, watching the 3 typing dots appear and disappear repeatedly for what felt like an eternity. 90 seconds of her panicking, trying to figure out what lie would save her. Finally, a new message arrived. "Sorry, babe, accidentally sent you a pic from a boudoir photography project I'm doing. Didn't mean to distract you at work." The lie was so insulting, so transparently desperate, that I felt rage boiling beneath the shock. There was no camera visible in the photo, no professional setup, no client to speak of. And that message, "Get here soon, I'm ready for you," was crystal clear. She thought I was stupid. She thought 5 years of marriage had made me blind. I didn't respond. Instead, I walked outside the warehouse into the cold night air, my breath visible in short, angry puffs. My hands were still shaking as I dialed Mike's number. "Mike, I need your help," I said when he answered, my voice cracking despite my efforts to stay calm. "Jessica, someone's going to my house, right now." His tone shifted instantly from friendly neighbor to retired cop. "Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out," he replied with professional authority. I explained through gritted teeth, fighting to keep my voice steady. The accidental text, the photo, the lie that followed. Mike listened without judgment, without questions, processing the information like the professional he'd once been. "Give me 10 minutes to get dressed and positioned," he said decisively. "I'll watch your house. Don't do anything yet. We need to be smart about this. Evidence first, action second." I paced in the parking lot, my mind racing through 5 years of marriage, searching for signs I'd missed. How long had this been going on? Who was he? Did I know him? The questions were torture, each one cutting deeper than the last. 20 minutes later, Mike's voice came through the phone, steady and professional. "Black Honda Accord, parked 4 houses down. License plates are obscured with mud, that's deliberate. Guy just walked up to your front door." I held my breath. "David, he's got a key," Mike continued, his voice tight with controlled anger. "He just let himself in like he owns the place." The words hit me like a physical blow. A key. She'd given someone else a key to our home, to our sanctuary, to the place where we'd made love, shared dreams, planned our future. My vision started to tunnel, rage and betrayal mixing into something dangerous. "Don't come home yet," Mike warned, reading my silence correctly. "Give me 30 minutes to document everything. You need evidence that holds up in court, not an assault charge." I was already walking back into the warehouse, looking for my supervisor. I lied to Mike just like Jessica had lied to me. "I'll wait," I answered. But I was already in my truck, driving home to catch them together, and I was bringing my father's baseball bat. My supervisor, Danny, took one look at my face and asked no questions. "Family emergency. Go." "We'll cover your shift," he said without hesitation. I don't remember walking to my truck or starting the engine. The 23-minute drive home felt like hours and seconds simultaneously, time distorting under the weight of what I knew I'd find. I called Mike from the road, putting him on speaker. His voice became my anchor in the chaos swirling through my mind. "Lights just went off in the guest bedroom," he reported. "They've been in there for 18 minutes. The guest bedroom. The room where my mother had stayed during her cancer treatments 2 years ago, where Jessica had sat by her bedside holding her hand, where she'd cried at the funeral. Now she was defiling that sacred space with her betrayal. "Listen to me carefully, David," Mike continued, his voice staying professional but with underlying anger. "I'm recording everything from my position. Timestamps, vehicle description, the man entering with a key. This is ironclad evidence for your divorce, but if you go in there and hurt someone badly, you'll lose everything. You'll catch a charge, she'll play victim, and she might get the house out of sympathy. Don't give her that satisfaction." My knuckles were white on the steering wheel, my wedding ring catching the passing streetlights, a symbol that suddenly felt like a shackle around my finger. I'm not going to let him just walk away. "Mike," I replied through gritted teeth. "I'm not saying let him walk away," he answered firmly. "I'm saying be smart about it. Document everything. Let me record the confrontation. Get him out of your house. Scare him enough that he never comes back. But don't put yourself in prison over someone who isn't worth the air she breathes." I pulled into my driveway at 12:31 a.m., 44 minutes after receiving the message that destroyed my world. Mike emerged from the shadows beside my garage like a guardian angel, phone in hand, already recording. The guest bedroom window shows movement. "They're still in there," he informed me quietly. "Front door or garage?" "Garage." "I left it unlocked this morning," I answered, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears, flat, cold, emotionless. I retrieved my aluminum baseball bat from the hall closet, a wedding gift from my father who died 6 months after our ceremony. "For when you need to knock some sense into the world, son," he'd joked. If only he'd known how prophetic those words would be. We moved through my darkened kitchen like soldiers on a mission. I could hear music playing softly upstairs, a playlist Jessica had created for our anniversary last year. The violation of it, the casual way she'd taken something sacred between us and twisted it for her betrayal, made bile rise in my throat. Mike followed silently, professional and focused, his phone capturing everything for the evidence that would save my future. Down the hallway, the sounds from the guest bedroom were unmistakable, sounds that should have been mine, in a house I paid for, with a woman who'd promised to love only me. I stood frozen for 10 seconds, listening to my wife with another man in our home, in the room where my dying mother had once slept. Mike placed a steady hand on my shoulder. "You've got this. Stay in control. Let anger make you smart, not stupid," he said quietly. My hand tightened on the bat handle until my knuckles cracked. "I need to see his face. I need to know who he is," I whispered. Mike nodded grimly. "On 3. I'll get the light switch. You make sure he doesn't run. Let me do the talking first. I'm documenting that they're in your bed in your house without permission." "That protects you legally," he replied. We positioned ourselves outside the guest bedroom door like SWAT officers preparing for a raid. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, drowning out everything except the sounds of betrayal coming from behind that door. Mike counted silently with his fingers. 1, 2. The door was about to burst open, and nothing would ever be the same again. Mike's finger counted to 3, and I kicked that door open so hard it splintered the frame. What I saw in the next 5 seconds would be burned into my memory forever, and would fuel every decision I made in the months to come. The door exploded inward with a crack that echoed through the house like a gunshot. The frame splintered, pieces of wood flying as Mike hit the light switch, and the room erupted in harsh fluorescent brightness. Jessica's scream was primal, shock, terror, and shame all rolled into one piercing wail that would haunt my dreams. The man beneath her scrambled for the sheets like a cockroach exposed to light. He was young, maybe 25, muscular in that gym-obsessed way that screamed insecurity. Someone I'd never seen before in my life. A complete stranger who'd been given intimate access to my home, my bed, my wife. "Don't move. This is being recorded. You're trespassing in a private residence. State your name for the record," Mike commanded with authoritative steadiness. The man didn't speak, frozen in terror, his face the color of ash. Jessica was sobbing, trying desperately to cover herself with the sheets, the same sheets I'd bought for my mother's comfort during her final days. "Baby, please, I can explain," she started, reaching toward me with trembling hands. "Don't you dare call me that," I replied, the words coming out so cold that Jessica physically recoiled. I looked at the stranger in our guest bed, in my house, with my wife, and felt something die inside my chest. "You have 10 seconds to put on your pants and get out of this room," I continued, with deadly calm. "If you're still in this house after 60 seconds, I'm calling the police for breaking and entering. Mike's video shows you entering with a key you had no legal right to possess." The man moved with desperate efficiency, grabbing his jeans from the floor, but I blocked the doorway with the bat held loosely in my hands, not threatening, just present. A reminder of consequences. "Not yet," I said quietly as he tried to edge past. "First you answer his question. Name." "Lucas," Jessica sobbed desperately. "Lucas something. I don't know his last name." "David, please, just listen." "Wallet," I interrupted, my voice not rising, which somehow made it more terrifying. "Show me your wallet. Now." Lucas fumbled through his jeans with shaking hands, pulled out his wallet, and displayed his driver's license to Mike's recording phone with the defeated posture of a man who knew his life was about to change forever. Lucas Anthony Reeves, Mike read aloud for the recording. 24 years old, he continued reading out the address while Lucas looked like he might vomit on my carpet. How long? I asked Jessica, my eyes never leaving Lucas. David, it's not what you... she started. How long? I exploded, my voice cracking like a whip through the air. 4 months, she whispered, collapsing under the weight of truth. I'm so sorry. 4 months, I repeated the words, tasting the betrayal. 4 months of lies. 4 months of me working night shifts to provide for us while this stranger used a key to enter my home. Did you ever do this in our bed? Her silence was answer enough. Something final and irrevocable died in my eyes. Mike saw it and stepped forward slightly, ready to intervene if needed. Get dressed, I told Lucas with deadly calm. You have 30 seconds, then we're going outside for a conversation. David, please don't hurt him. Jessica screamed hysterically, grabbing at my arm. I shook her off like she was nothing, because she was nothing to me now. Lucas dressed faster than should have been humanly possible, but I didn't move from the doorway. When he tried to edge past, my hand shot out, gripping his shoulder with crushing force. We're not done talking, I said. I hauled Lucas through my house, through the kitchen where we'd planned our wedding, past the living room where we'd opened Christmas presents, through the garage where Jessica's abandoned photography equipment sat gathering dust like her broken promises. Jessica followed, screaming, begging, sobbing, but she might as well have been a ghost. Outside, under the harsh streetlights with Mike still recording, I shoved Lucas toward his black Honda. You're going to get in that car and drive away, I said with controlled fury. You're never going to contact my wife again. Not a text, not a call, not a breath in her direction. Because if I ever see you near her, near my house, near my life again, I will make you wish you'd never been born. Do you understand me? Lucas nodded frantically, blood from a split lip, courtesy of my shove sending him into the car, dripping onto his shirt. I took the bat and brought it down on his windshield once, hard. The glass spider webbed with a satisfying crack. That's so you don't forget who I am or what happens when you touch what's mine, I added. Lucas scrambled into his car like his life depended on it. The engine roared to life, tires squealing as he peeled out into the night, disappearing from my life forever. Behind me, Jessica crumpled to the garage floor like a broken doll. David, please. I love you. I made a mistake. Please don't do this, she pleaded through broken sobs. I turned slowly, looking down at the woman who'd just destroyed 5 years of marriage for a 24-year-old stranger. My voice returned to that terrible cold calm. Pack your things. You have 1 hour. Then I'm changing the locks and calling the police to report that Lucas Reeves trespassed in my home with a stolen key. Whether you're still here when they arrive is up to you. Where will I go? She asked, the question coming out as a broken whisper. I don't care, I answered with finality. 3 words that ended 5 years of marriage and 29 years of believing in love. You stopped being my problem the second you betrayed me. Now get out of my sight, she begged for another hour. I gave her 30 minutes. And while she packed, I made 3 phone calls that would ensure she lost everything, her home, her family, and any chance of playing the victim. By 2:17 a.m., Jessica's car pulled away from our house for the last time, overloaded with hastily packed suitcases and the remnants of a life she'd thrown away. I watched from the window, feeling absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness, not relief. Just cold, calculating emptiness where my heart used to be. Mike sat at my kitchen table, his phone connected to a laptop, uploading the video evidence to 3 separate cloud storage accounts. Redundancy, he explained. Lawyers love redundancy, and we're going to give them the best evidence package they've ever seen. My first call was to Amanda Torres, the most aggressive divorce attorney in the county, a woman whose reputation for destroying unfaithful spouses was legendary. Even at 2:30 a.m., I left a detailed voicemail with every fact, promising to send the complete evidence package within the hour. and requesting an emergency Monday morning meeting. Amanda Torres doesn't just win cases, Mike had told me earlier. She annihilates people who think they can cheat their way out of marriages. Your wife just made the biggest mistake of her life. My second call was harder, but necessary. Jessica's father, Robert, answered on the fourth ring, his voice rough with sleep and confusion. "David, what's wrong? Is Jessica okay?" he asked with paternal concern. "I'm sorry to call at this hour, Rob, but you need to know something about your daughter," I replied. My voice steady and clinical, emotions locked away where they couldn't interfere with what needed to be done. I explained everything. The accidental text, Mike's surveillance, the confrontation, Lucas Reeves's driver's license information. I didn't embellish, didn't add emotional manipulation. Facts were damning enough. The silence on the other end lasted 30 seconds that felt like hours. When Robert finally spoke, his voice was thick with shame and barely controlled rage. "Send me the video. Margaret needs to see what she's done. Rob, I'm not trying to turn you against—" I started. "Send it, David," he interrupted, his voice cracking. "She's destroyed your marriage, embarrassed our family, and violated every value we raised her with. Her mother and I need to see the truth with our own eyes." I sent the video and screenshots within minutes. The family that had welcomed me as a son was about to exile their own daughter. My third call was to the automated banking system, leaving detailed instructions to freeze all joint accounts first thing Monday morning. I spent the next 3 hours changing passwords on every shared account. Netflix, Hulu, utilities, credit cards, the works. I photographed every item in the house, documenting everything of value for the property division that would leave Jessica with nothing. Mike helped with the systematic documentation, his police experience invaluable as we treated the scene like a crime investigation, because in every way that mattered, it was. By sunrise, I had compiled a 47-page evidence packet, screenshots with timestamps, Mike's video testimony, photos of Lucas's driver's license, documentation of the affair partner entering the home with a stolen key, records of joint accounts Jessica had accessed, even her own text messages admitting to the 4-month affair. Amanda Torres responded to my voicemail at 6:23 a.m. Monday, 8 a.m. sharp, my office. "Bring everything you compiled. This is the most comprehensive evidence package I've seen in 15 years of practice. She won't get a penny, and I'll make sure everyone knows why." Jessica tried calling 16 times Sunday morning. I blocked her number after the third attempt. She sent emails, blocked. She tried reaching me through social media, blocked. She even sent a letter to my workplace marked urgent personal matter. I filed it with Amanda unread. Another piece of evidence showing her continued harassment. By Sunday evening, I learned that her parents had already frozen her access to the family credit card they'd given her for emergencies only. Robert had called, his voice hollow. Margaret watched the video. "She's not speaking to Jessica. We can't support someone who would do this to you, David. You were like a son to us," he said with finality. Jessica was financially cut off within 36 hours of the confrontation. Monday morning found me sitting in Amanda's office, watching her review the evidence with barely concealed glee. "This isn't just a fault-based divorce," she said, spreading the documents across her mahogany desk. "This is a nuclear weapon. The accidental text proves intent and premeditation. The video proves adultery in the marital home. The key proves repeated planned access. In this state, she's entitled to absolutely nothing. I want the house, both cars, all savings, my retirement accounts, and I want her name removed from everything we ever shared," I stated. "My demands precise, prepared, non-negotiable, done," she replied with satisfaction. "And we'll file a restraining order petition based on her continued attempts to contact you against your clearly stated wishes. I'll also explore criminal charges against Lucas Reeves, criminal trespass, unlawful possession of a key to a residence. Even if the DA doesn't prosecute, it adds pressure and makes him disappear permanently." Within the week, I learned that Jessica had tried desperately to contact Mike, begging him to explain to David that it was all a mistake, that she loved me, that Lucas meant nothing. Mike's response, delivered via text and forwarded to me, was perfect. You were caught committing adultery in your husband's home with another man who possessed a key to that home, a key you illegally provided. I witnessed it. I documented it. Don't contact me again, he had replied with finality. The neighborhood learned the truth within days, not from me spreading gossip, but from the visible evidence, the confrontation heard through windows, the smashed windshield, the sight of Jessica leaving with packed bags at 2 a.m. Mike's wife, Helen, made sure the story reached the neighborhood book club, the PTA, the grocery store checkout lines. By week's end, Jessica was a pariah. Former friends deleted her from social media. Wedding invitations were rescinded. Her photography clients, the few she'd managed to book, canceled their sessions. The divorce papers arrived at her studio apartment 3 weeks later. She tried one last desperate move to win me back, but she had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead, and this time, I had the law on my side. 3 months after that Tuesday night that changed everything, I sat in a downtown courthouse watching Judge Margaret Thornton review our evidence packet. Jessica's attorney, a tired-looking public defender because she couldn't afford private counsel, made a half-hearted argument about rehabilitation, forgiveness, and giving people second chances. Amanda Torres destroyed it in exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds. "Your Honor," Amanda said, rising with predatory grace, the respondent engaged in a 4-month affair, provided her paramour with a key to the marital home, and used that home for adultery while the petitioner worked night shifts to support her unemployed lifestyle. This isn't a mistake. It's a calculated pattern of deception and theft of marital resources. Judge Thornton, a stern woman in her 60s, didn't bother hiding her disgust as she reviewed Mike's video evidence. "In 30 years on this bench, I've rarely seen such clear-cut documentation of marital betrayal and financial manipulation," she declared with finality. "The petitioner receives the marital home, both vehicles, all marital savings, and all retirement accounts. The respondent receives nothing. Divorce granted." The gavel fell with the finality of a coffin nail. Jessica tried to approach me outside the courthouse, her transformation shocking even to someone who'd stopped caring about her months ago. Her hair was unwashed and stringy, her clothes wrinkled and cheap, dark circles under red-rimmed eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and tears that couldn't wash away consequences. "David, please. Can we just talk for 5 minutes?" she pleaded desperately. "No," I replied without breaking stride, Amanda guiding me toward the parking garage. "I've lost everything. My parents won't speak to me. I'm working double shifts at a diner. I had to sell all my camera equipment just to make rent. Please, I just need," she continued frantically. "You lost everything because you threw it away for a 24-year-old stranger," I answered, stopping and turning to let her see the complete absence of emotion in my eyes. "That's not my problem." "It will never be my problem again." Amanda guided me away, leaving Jessica standing alone in the courthouse hallway, crying for a marriage she'd murdered with her own hands. Through Mike, I learned that Lucas Reeves had left the state entirely within a week of our confrontation, spooked by the criminal trespass report and the potential prosecution that Amanda had threatened. Rumors through Mike's police contacts suggested he'd moved 3 states away, too paranoid about legal consequences to ever return. I felt no satisfaction from this news. Lucas had just been a symptom. Jessica was the disease. The house felt empty but clean. I repainted the guest bedroom in colors my mother would have loved, replaced the bed entirely, and donated every piece of furniture Jessica had touched to charity. I kept only what had been mine before the marriage, building a new life from the ashes of the old one. Mike and Helen had me over for dinner twice a week, never pushing me to talk, but always being there. Mike taught me how to grill properly. Helen made sure I was eating vegetables and not living entirely on takeout and anger. At Mike's gentle insistence, I started therapy with Dr. Audrey Mendez, a trauma specialist who focused on betrayal and rebuilding trust. The first session, I sat rigidly, insisting I was fine, that I'd handled everything, that I just wanted to move on and forget. By the third session, I broke down completely, sobbing for the marriage I thought I'd had, mourning the woman Jessica had pretended to be for 5 years. "You're not mourning her," Dr. Mendez said gently, handing me tissues. You're mourning the lie she made you believe in. And that grief is healthy. That's how you heal and learn to trust your instincts again. 6 months after the divorce, I was a different man, 20 pounds lighter from religiously hitting the gym, clearer-eyed, more focused on my own goals and happiness. I still worked night shifts, but I was interviewing for a day position in logistics management that would mean better hours, better pay, and better work-life balance. At the grocery store on a random Saturday afternoon, I was comparing pasta sauce brands when a voice beside me said, "Excuse me, do you know if this brand is any good?" I'm terrible at cooking, but I'm trying to learn. I turned to find a woman around my age, pretty in an understated way that spoke of confidence rather than desperation, wearing glasses and a software company t-shirt. Her smile was genuine, her question innocent. We talked for 5 minutes about pasta sauce, which became 10 minutes about cooking disasters, which became 20 minutes about our jobs, which became 40 minutes about books, travel, life goals, and everything in between. When she wrote her number on my grocery receipt, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Not love, not yet, but hope. The possibility that maybe someday I could trust someone again. I'm Sarah, by the way. Software developer, new to the area, completely hopeless in the kitchen, she said with a laugh. David, logistics coordinator, longtime resident. Not much better at cooking, but willing to learn, I replied with a smile. A real smile that reached my eyes for the first time since that awful Tuesday night. Maybe we could figure it out together. I didn't know if Sarah and I would work out. But for the first time since discovering Jessica's betrayal, I was willing to try. And that willingness, that tiny spark of hope, was enough. 1 year after the divorce that freed me from a lie disguised as a marriage, I stand in my backyard, the same backyard where I'd dragged Lucas Reeves out into the night, where my old life had ended and my real life began. But everything looks different now because I've made it different. I renovated extensively, replacing the old fence that had witnessed my humiliation, planting new trees that would grow without the shadow of betrayal hanging over them. The guest bedroom is now a home office where I work on my logistics management degree, night classes funded by the money I no longer waste on someone else's dreams. Sarah and I have been dating for 6 months, taking things slow but building something solid. I told her the whole story on our 3rd date, needing her to understand why I moved carefully now, why trust had to be earned rather than assumed. She listened without judgment, told me about her own past heartbreak with a fiancé who'd emptied their joint accounts and disappeared, and we bonded over shared scars that had made us wiser. I understand taking things slow, she had replied with empathy. Some wounds need time to heal properly. She's never pushed for more than I could give, never demanded promises I wasn't ready to make. It's healthy. It's real. It's built on truth instead of lies. The day position promotion came through 3 months ago. I work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. now, weekends off, like a normal human being with a normal life. My relationship with Mike has evolved into genuine friendship. We watch football together, work on house projects, talk about life without the weight of crisis hanging over us. Helen treats me like the son they never had, always making sure I'm eating well and taking care of myself. Jessica has tried to reach out 4 times this year, apologetic texts from new numbers that immediately get blocked, emails that bypass my filters only to be deleted unread, even a letter delivered to my office that went straight into Amanda's files as evidence of continued harassment. Each attempt begs for forgiveness, claims she's changed, insists she's learned from her mistakes. I delete them without reading past the first line because Jessica is nothing to me now. Not an enemy, not a source of anger, just nothing. Her parents still refuse contact. Her mother, Margaret, told Helen at the grocery store last month, "I don't have a daughter anymore." Some betrayals can't be forgiven, she had said with finality. The consequences remain permanent, exactly as they should be. The last I heard through neighborhood gossip, Jessica still works minimum wage jobs, still lives in that same studio apartment, still struggles to rebuild a life from ashes of her own making. Her photography dreams died with her equipment sales. Her social circle vanished. Her reputation is permanently stained. Lucas Reeves never returned, living somewhere far away under a cloud of paranoia and legal fear. Good. I stand at my kitchen window, watching Sarah laugh at something on her phone in my living room. She fits here in a way Jessica never did. She has her own life, her own career, her own identity. She doesn't need me to complete her. We complement each other instead of one person sacrificing everything for the other's fantasies. Dr. Mendez asked me in our final session if I'd forgiven Jessica. No, I had answered without hesitation. And I don't need to. Forgiveness isn't required for me to move on. She's simply irrelevant to my life now. And that, I realize, is the truest freedom of all. I learned that betrayal reveals character, both in the person who commits it and the person who survives it. Jessica revealed herself to be selfish, entitled, and willing to destroy everything good for nothing real. I revealed myself to be stronger than I knew, strategic enough to protect myself, and resilient enough to rebuild from nothing. Some people throw away everything genuine for momentary pleasure and hollow validation, and some people refuse to be destroyed by those choices. I'm the latter, and for the first time in years, I'm genuinely, completely happy. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.